Hi, this is Chubby Too Chic. It's been a while since I've been on here. I have had a tremendous amount of things going on in my life. I don't even know where to begin, so this video may be lengthy. If you don't want to watch the video, then you can click off. There may be some things that I talk about that may not interest some of you, and a lot of it may not have to do specifically with, weight loss or whatnot. It's just life in general as it happens for each of us. I can't remember where I was the last time I was making a video, but I was having some issues with my right shoulder. I had just moved. I was lifting, heavy furniture and things like that. And I tore up the inside of my shoulder, my rotator cuff, rather. Lifting my washer and dryer. Well, helping to lift it. I can honestly say, when I started my YouTube channel, I think I'm going to take off my glasses. Please excuse me. Please excuse me. I don't want anything to interfere with my video or the making of this video, whatever. I'm not going to edit it. I think all of my videos are just basically how they are. I can honestly say that life has been different. It's been very difficult. Right now we're going through this pandemic, and I wanted to end the year on just letting you guys know what's going on, because there's been some people that have sent me messages and stuff like that asking me how I was doing and whatnot. And I think I may cry. So this might be like a raw and uncut video. Let's see. January 2019. I was having issues, for a few months with my shoulder after I moved in September of 2018. And it got hard for me to raise my arm up like this. It got hard for me to be able to raise my arm up. It got hard for me to be able to stretch it forward. It got hard for me to be able to do normal activities, like just with normal daily activities. Like, it was just crazy. So I started going to, the doctor, trying to figure out what was going on. And I had x-rays and I had scans and I had an MRI and a CAT scan. And they told me that I had a tear in my rotator cuff. So I, was scheduled for surgery because it was really bad. It was to the point to where I could not even lift my arm over my head anymore. I couldn't reach forward. It was even hard to wipe whenever I went to the restroom, forwards or backwards. It was that bad. The pain was excruciating, and it was like, for me, it kind of seemed like the bones had fused together, or maybe the muscle wasn't connected. So I went in for surgery on January 13th, 2019. I think it's 2019. I went in for surgery, and I had surgery, but when they went in there, they found that it wasn't just one tear, it was two tears in my rotator cuff. So I had that done, and I was down for maybe 6 months. But in the midst of that, the surgery was January 13th. I began to, I don't know, I developed this thing on my shoulder that was like the Hunchback of Notre Dame. It was like I had a hump on my shoulder. And it was like really hot to the touch. I still had my sutures in. I had like, a bunch of staples in my shoulder. And they, they said that everything was fine. Everything was fine. The incision looked good. So I went to the doctor. They removed my sutures. And when they removed the sutures, he said that it looked good and everything. And 30 days after that, exactly 30 days, I was in bed, and, I had this pillow that I had ordered, because I had to literally like sit up. So I had the pillow, and I'm sitting there, it's a pillow with armrests on it. And I'm feeling this pain in my breast, in my shoulder. It's just all terrible. Like, it's really bad. It hurt my neck. Like, I would literally sleep like with my head leaning to one side. So I felt like, I had my eyes closed, and I felt like there was like water running down. Like, it was a sensation, like a crawly sensation. So I did this, and I'm looking, and I see water running down my chest, my chest, whatever. And I noticed that a little hole had opened up right here. So after, the incision was closed, there was a little hole that opened up here. And when I did like this, and I put my hand, to look like this, and I touched it, all of this pus liquid just started oozing out. So I called my doctor, and I'm like, I'm not sure what's going on, but, I have this, and I explained to him what was going on. So he told me, I want you to go into the hospital right now. He says, it sounds like you have an infection. I want to check on it. So I made arrangements for someone to come with my children, because I don't have any family here where I live at. Like, I'm living in a state with no family, no friends, no one. So I'm sitting there, and I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do. I finally got, one of my daughter's friends' mom to pick me up, and she took me to the hospital, and they, triaged me, and they took like a bunch of blood and these little bottles and mixed it with liquid, and, tried to, check to see if I had what they called MRSA. So they were checking for MRSA. They were checking for all different types of infections. They said that it sounded or seemed like I was septic. So they checked, and they said that there was something going on, but it had not reached my blood yet. So you have to excuse me if you see me kind of looking up. My daughter's messaging me. So I was sitting there, and I waited for them to get me a room and stuff like that. And, they said that I was going to be scheduled for surgery in the morning. I don't know what that surgery was going to consist of, but they said that, they were going to be doing whatever they need to do. I guess go back in and redo everything that the doctor had done. So, I get in a room and, they're trying to start IVs, and I think I was poked at least 20 times, and I have bad veins. So they had to bring a machine down to ultrasound my veins and arteries to find one. They couldn't find one, so I had to go all night until the next morning. And a gentleman came and he inserted what they called a PICC line. And he literally just, took the machine, did the ultrasound Doppler on my arm, and he found a vein, like, instantly, like artery. And oh my God, that was the biggest needle I've ever seen in my life. But he got it in one stick, and everything was all good, and they took me in for surgery. And I remember waking up in so much pain, in so much pain. I remember being in a holding area, and they basically told me that, we have to wait for the nurse to come. They're trying to make sure that your vitals are stable before we take you back to your room. I had to go to the restroom, and they're like, oh, it's okay. Just go ahead. Just go ahead. We'll clean you up when you get to your room. And I'm like, what do you mean just go ahead? I can't get up. And she's like, oh no, you can't get up because you still have the anesthesia. They can't allow you to walk. Just go ahead. Just go. I'm like, just go. She's like, yeah, just go ahead and just go and use it, and we'll clean you up when you get to your room. We'll clean you up. We'll, make sure that we wash you up and everything. And I was like, I'm not going to pee on myself. I'm not going to pee on myself. And I'm sitting there holding it. I'm sitting there holding it. I remember dozing off. I'm sitting there holding it. And there's another lady that came by, and I'm like, ma'am, I still have to pee. I really have to pee. And she's like, oh, ma'am, we can't let you get up right now. Just go ahead. Just go ahead. I was so tired of waiting. I just let go. And I was like, I felt so disgusting. So just, I don't even know a word to describe what I felt. I'm still sitting there, and after a while I had to go again, and I'm telling her I really have to pee, and I've already went one time, and I'm like all wet. And she's like, oh honey, it's fine. We're going to be taking you to your room in a little bit. Just go ahead. Just go ahead. They're going to clean you up. They're going to clean you up as soon as they get you back to your room. I'm like drowsy. I'm like in and out of consciousness, whatever. I just went. And I remember somebody coming, okay, we're ready to take you to your room. So they took me up, and I'm like, I really need a shower or something because I'm like all wet. And the lady's like, what do you mean you're wet? And I'm like, I'm like, I've already used the restroom twice. Like, I've peed twice. And she's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, they told me to, go ahead. She was like, oh my God, no, ma'am. She was like, she's like, no, they should not have done that. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Okay. After this, they told me that I had some type of infection. They put on a wound vac, and I was in the hospital for 3 days. This was February 13th. He had to redo everything that he had did, wash out the wound and put the wound vac on, and it was constantly like sucking at my arm. I still have pictures. I may do another video and just, kind of put pictures of that up. So after that, things were just different. I noticed that I was kind of, I don't want to say alone, but, I had like, my children, and I had a nurse that was coming by to, help with things around the home. And I never really realized how different, I don't know if I should say different or difficult it is to be in a place where you have no family. Sometimes it seems like you can give your all to people, places, and things, but when it comes to you needing them, they may not be able to be there in whatever capacity that you need them to be. I have had a rough time, had a rough go at it. After this, I found myself by myself. But I know God, will never leave you. Regardless of, what other people, may have going on or have to do or whatever. After this, I was trying to help myself get better. I went and I started physical therapy, and I went 3 days a week. And it still seemed like my arm, I wasn't able to lift my arm 100%. So they had to do another assessment to see where I was. And with the insurance that I had at the moment, everything was kind of slow. I have some things that I like to do. I love hair, nails, makeup, everything beauty. I've always had just a love for anything like with fashion, bling, sparkly, whatever. So I applied for cosmetology school, and I kind of felt like, if I started this school thing, that it would be my way to help me help myself, like exercise this arm, because I'm moving it, doing different things, whatever we have to do in class or whatnot. So I signed up for school and I did that, and I felt like I was doing good. So June 2019, I was in class. Class was almost over, and we have to sanitize our stations, and we use something called barbicide to sanitize the station to make sure that everything's clean or whatnot. And I cleaned my station, sanitized it and everything. And there was a lady who came behind me. We're getting ready to walk out, and she takes this barbicide and she starts spraying it all over everybody's area. And I was right there, and I took a breath in, and it was like somebody had thrown pepper in the air. And I'm like, I'm coughing, I'm sneezing. I'm like, no, I said, my area is already clean. She's like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know it was already done. She was like, it's okay. She was like, I'll just clean it again. After that, I think maybe the next day I started to get sick. I couldn't breathe. I had like a tickly feeling in my throat and in my chest. And I just noticed that I couldn't breathe. I just didn't feel right. So I went to school, and I was like, I didn't feel right. I'm not able to breathe. Everything, my chest feels tight. Um, I got through the day and I went to the hospital. And when I went to the hospital, they told me that both of my lungs had collapsed. The lower part of both of my lungs had collapsed. I had bilateral, oh my gosh, I can't even remember the name, how to pronounce it rather. But I spent a week in the hospital. And I spent a week in one hospital, and I was discharged after that and on all this medication. And my school had dropped me because I had been out for that long, for a week. They dropped me and they made me start all over. So I went back and I redid all of my paperwork, redid my financial aid. And I'm not feeling good again. I'm still feeling off, like something's not right. I went back to the hospital and they put me back in the hospital. It was a different hospital for 3 days. And they're like, you need to take it easy. You need to be careful of the things that you're around, given that you have, asthma and stuff like that. You might want to rethink, you doing this cosmetology thing, or you have to wear a mask whenever you do it. So I'm like, okay, I really want this. I really want this. I really desire this. I desire to do something and not just be just sitting around. So I go back to school. I'm letting them know what's going on. I literally have to leave from my station every 3 hours to take a breathing treatment because my lungs are like closing up. Chemicals and stuff like that we use. It was kind of getting to me. So I was allowed to leave because I really wanted this. I told them, that I really want this. And no matter what's going on with me physically, I am going to push through and I'm going to make it. So I did that. I would wear my mask every day. And this is before COVID, mind you. So I'm going through and everything's, going all right. And July comes and everything's good. Everything's good. Like, as far as my breathing, my asthma, this episode where my lungs had collapsed, everything was better. To a certain extent, I would say. I was leaving school and I'm on my way home and a guy backs out into traffic and hits me, backs out into traffic, and I just totaled my vehicle. And it was just like, it seemed like one thing after another. So I'm like, taken to the hospital. On the way to the hospital, it was like, I'm still dealing with the issue, the lung issue. And they're like, it sounds like you have water in your lungs. We can't really hear any breath sounds on the left side. And I think we're going to have to, the guy was getting ready to stab me here to put in a chest tube to reinflate my lung. When the airbag came out and it hit me, it like, I don't know. It was just, there was a burn and I couldn't breathe, and it was the craziest experience I've ever been through. But on the way to the hospital, I remember like wanting to fall asleep, wanting to just go to sleep. And the guy kept talking to me, and he's like, ma'am, he's like, calling me by my name. And he's like, I'm going to need you to stay awake. Don't fall asleep. Don't fall asleep. So this happened July 25th, 2019. After this, I was, getting a ride back and forth to school. My kids were staying with a friend of theirs. I'm paying for my ride to school. I'm paying for my kids to have a ride with their friend, paying for groceries, money that I didn't really have. But I know that God will make a way in spite of anything that comes your way. You know what I mean? Like, if it's something that He really has designed for your life and for you, it's nothing that would hinder or stop you, or He would allow, like, things to happen so that you can still do it. This is July. August, September, I'm still in school. I'm still, getting my ride back and forth to school, and feeling uncomfortable because it's hard to have to ask someone for something, and knowing that they have their own life and stuff like that. And I am 100% greatly appreciative of everything, because it was a blessing. Because these people could have said no. They could have said no. I'm going to be moving. Oh my God, you have to excuse me because I'm cooking and doing a whole lot at the same time, trying to do this video. Oh my God. So trying to do a New Year's dinner. I don't want to burn anything. Please excuse me. Like I said, this is raw and uncut. This is life, and everybody's life is happening different for them right now. Let's see, this is July, okay? So, October comes. I am, as I said, getting rides from someone, and my kids are staying somewhere else, and I'm uncomfortable with the fact that they have to be away from me. But, grateful that, I have the help, and I'm gonna get to the point. I'm just trying to let you guys know, like, why I haven't been on, because it was not my intention to start this channel and then not dedicate myself to it, because I keep feeling tears welling up and I don't want to cry, but July, August, September, October. October, my children's dad says to me, hey, I know that you have all this stuff that you went through and stuff like that. And he's like, because of the job that I'm doing, I'm not using my vehicle. He's like, how about I allow you to use my vehicle, and you use the vehicle to go back and forth to school and take the kids where they need to go, XYZ. I'm like, okay. Oh my God, I would be so grateful if you did that. That would be awesome. So he allowed me to use his vehicle. And I was careful. I was careful. I'm a very careful driver. I went to do hair and nails one night. Night, afternoon, whatever. I went to do hair and nails, and I go in and I'm doing the lady's hair and nails, and come out. I'm getting ready to go, and my vehicle was gone. My vehicle, his truck was gone. Called the police. They made a report. I think it may have been the next day or 2 days later. They found the vehicle embedded in a tree, and it was like way somewhere else, like on the other side of town. It only had one tire on it. Everything that you could possibly think of, like the radio, the AC, like everything that they could get out of there, they literally gutted that truck. It was one tire on it. There was blood all in the floor. There was blood everywhere. I was just so, I don't know if I should say distraught, upset. It was just so bad because this was not my vehicle. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, oh my God, he's going to be so upset with me. Like, why is this happening? Like, it was just crazy. It was just crazy. They took the report, they took blood, they did all this stuff, you know, and they're like, and on top of that, I had my backpack with my Chromebook for cosmetology class, a mannequin head, all of my nail polishes, my jacket. It was just like stuff that was just crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was just crazy. This is October 2019. I'm back to getting rides, having my kids stay somewhere else just to make sure they could get back and forth to school. December, some doors opened up. The Lord opened these doors, and there was some back pay that had come to me, and I used it as a down payment on a vehicle. And I went just expecting just anything that I could afford. And they were asking me, you know, being on disability or whatever, they were asking me what could I afford, what was my spending amount, what was my limit or whatever. And I told them, and they came back with three lot numbers of vehicles. And they said, you know, we have these two. We know you said that you wanted a van or a truck, but we're going to take you to look at this. And if you don't like this one, then we can come back and rework the numbers and, you know, find you something else. So then it was like, I go outside and I meet the gentleman out there, and he's like, you know, he pulls up in this car, and I'm looking at the car, and I'm looking at him, and I'm like, where's the car? And he's like, this is the car. And I'm saying, where's the car? Because this looks like a new vehicle. New, when I say new, I mean like brand new, like the year, brand new as in like something that I probably would not be able to afford. So I'm looking at him and he's like, go ahead, get in and see, if you have enough leg room and this and that and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh my God, you have to be kidding me. I'm like, okay, God. Okay, God, if this is me, you're gonna have to you're gonna have to step in. Like if this is you, like I'm just gonna step back and let you be God. And okay, I got in the car and I'm sitting there and I slid the seat back and it was more than enough leg room. And it's, like, oh my God. I'm like, the only way I'll know if this car is for me is if I can get in the front and the back. And I'm saying that because, sometimes you may ride an older person around and you might want to get in the back seat. Like there are times that I'll go visit my family and have somebody else to drive it and I'll get in the back seat. So I'm like, if I can get in the front and the back, I know this is my car. So I'm like, I got in the back and I'm sitting there and I'm like, I'm nervous because I don't know my way around San Antonio. And I'm like, I want to drive it to see how it drives, but I don't know this area. So you drive, let me see what it feels like. So I'm sitting there and everything's comfortable. There's enough leg room, like in the back. There's enough leg room in the passenger seat. There's enough leg room in the driver's seat. And I'm like, am I going to be able to leave with this car today? And he's like, yes, ma'am. If we get everything worked out, you can leave with the car today. I'm like, okay, God, you really showing out now. Like, what is this? And I kept being reminded of a scripture, where it talks about the Lord giving you double for your trouble or whatnot. Just for, any adversity that you go through, that the Lord will, recompensate you for every struggle, everything that you have endured. And I was just like, I'm like, God, I'm a good person. I would do anything for anybody, and I don't understand why all of this stuff has been happening to me. But I need your help. Everything was done and the papers were signed, and I got to drive off with this vehicle. A 2018. And I'm grateful and thankful to God for everything. This is now December. This is about almost 2 months after my children's father's truck was stolen. Almost everything that was in there was replaced. Almost. I didn't, the school wouldn't replace my Chromebook. My polishes and stuff were, some of them were things that were gifted to me and I wasn't able to get those back. But it was just crazy. Like, this is December. I don't want to miss anything. December 2019. January 2020 comes. It's a new year. I'm in school. Still in cosmetology school. Everything's going good. I'm learning so many different things. Getting better at some things that I already know how to do. February comes. And I went to go and do nails. And someone busted out my car window. And they stole my whole tote kit of makeup. They stole Bath and Body Works body sprays and lotions, and my wallet. This brand new car that is a push start, has an alarm, never sounded. We're back to whatever. And I'm just like, why? Why me? Why does this keep happening? What am I doing wrong? God, what is it that you're trying to show me? I don't even know why I'm doing this video. I think I'm doing it because I kind of wanted to give you guys an update of what's been going on. And I know I keep saying and I may look a mess right now. Oh, I've locked my hair. Now, this was February, March, April, May, February. Then COVID came in March. And I've been, we were doing distance learning as far as cosmetology school goes. And March, April, May, June goes by. My grandmother had an accident, and she burned herself trying to fix herself something, and she had like 3rd-degree burns on her foot and leg. And my grandmother's like 80 years old. So the Lord told me to go home. When I say the Lord told me, I mean I was praying and God spoke and said, go home. Like, I was really worried about my grandma, and I kept having like this vision, or like I would be up and I would hear like, somebody say, like a phone call. Like, Mama, this has happened to Mama, or, like she passed away or whatever. And the Lord is saying, go home, go home. So I'm like, to leave from San Antonio and go back to where I moved here from, which is North Carolina, it's about 19 hours and 21 minutes. And when I moved here, it took me 2 days to get here because I wasn't in the best of health, and I had I don't know, just a hard time. I don't know if I should say staying awake or staying focused that long to drive. Like, having the brain tumor that I have, I had a lot of issues with feeling like I was going to have a seizure while I was driving because I was trying to focus for that long driving. So anyway, being obedient and listening to God, I'm nervous that I'm not going to make it. But then I know the word of God says that God does not give us a spirit of fear, but a power of love and of a sound mind. And my sound mind kept telling me, you need to go home to see your grandmother. Like, nobody knows what's going on in this world or if we'll live to see another day. But I know I wanted to see my family, and I hadn't been home in years. So I left and I went. I prayed. We packed the car up and I drove 20 hours and I made it to North Carolina by myself, me and my 2 children. And everything was good. Everything was well and good. And, everybody was safe in spite of, all of this COVID-19 and everything. And I saw my grandmother and I was able to hug her and just talk to her and see different family members that I hadn't seen in years. And after being there for 2 weeks, I came back here to San Antonio. And I was here and I just didn't feel well. I didn't feel well at all. They opened the pool up here and the kids started going swimming and they came back. And I remember my son being sick with like a cold. So it went from my son to my daughter to their friend to me. And they were over it in like 3 or 4 days. But with me, I kept it for like a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. This is July. We're going into August. I'm still sick. I'm like, I can't smell. I can't taste. I called into the school. I'm like, I'm not sure what's going on. I've been gone. You know, I had already took a leave of absence to go and see my grandmother. But I'm like, I'm not sure what's going on. But they told me not to come back until I had a COVID test. August 17th, I went to a CVS and I did the COVID test. And I think in like a week it came back and it said negative. But I'm still sick. I'm still sick. I'm still not feeling well. My school's telling me you need to quarantine before you come back, blah, 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 XYZ. And I'm like, okay. So I'm still here. I literally only have the energy to get up out of the bed, to go to the restroom, to come back to the bed, and that's it. I'm not hungry. I'm not thirsty. I'm not, it's just, it's crazy. I'm running a fever. My body's sore. My body's achy. I'm just tired. I feel drained. I literally felt like I was dying. So August 31st comes. I couldn't take it anymore. I got to the hospital and they put me in like an isolation room, and this is like on a COVID floor, COVID hall, whatever you want to call it. So they came in. They wouldn't actually come in until they put like on booties, on a mask, on, they put on booties, a mask, a respirator, gloves. Then they put on like another, not just their uniform, but like on a gown or something. So I'm sitting there and I'm watching and I'm afraid that I have COVID. So they do the test and she's like, it's a rapid test and it's 2 parts to it. So they came in and they took the little brush thing, because it wasn't like a Q-tip, it was more like a brush. And they go in and they put it like, it feels like it goes like back here when they put it in, like almost to your ear, because when they're twisting and turning, it feels like it's tickling you in your ear. But it was really far back. It wasn't terrible, but I just kind of, you know, sat there like this while she's doing it. And she was like, oh my God, I can't believe that you're that still. And I'm just like, I really don't feel good and I want to know what's going on with me. So they did that test. They did an EKG. They did a ultrasound of my heart. And then they took me for a CAT scan. They took me for the CAT scan, and I think it may have taken about 30 seconds to a minute. And the doctor ran back in there and he's like, I know what's going on. He's like, we're going to start you on a heparin drip. He's like, you have a massive pulmonary embolus in your right lung, and that's why you can't breathe. He's like, we're waiting on the COVID test. He said, but this is what's going on right now. He said, so we're going to be admitting you. We're getting the room ready, blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, I've been through this before. I've been through this before, so I know how it is. And it can kill you. Like, it can kill you. And I was just like, oh my God, like, I'm nervous. I'm afraid. It's more or less like, who's going to watch my kids? Like, now I have to go through this thing where I got to get somebody in here to get my kids. So I called. I called my friend that was helping me, and I let them know what was going on. And I called my kid's dad, and he was trying to make arrangements to get here to get the kids or get my son because my daughter was working. So I'm just crying because I'm like, even though I know what the Word of God says about, God not giving you the spirit of fear, but I'm just like, what's going to happen? You know what I'm saying? Like, even though you may know what the Word of God says concerning something, the carnal side of you is still going to be afraid. It's still going to be nervous. It's still going to be worried. And I'm like, I'm not as young as I was when I first had a pulmonary embolus, but I'm just there. This is August 31st, 2020. Now here it is, December 31st, 2020. 4 months later, and I'm still sick. I still can't breathe. I'm still having a hard time. I've put on, I think, maybe 40 pounds. I'm trying to get to the point because I think I've been on here for almost an hour. That's the reason why I have the oxygen on. I have a lot going on with my health. And, my doctors keep saying the risk of death for me is really high. And it went from, just being that massive blood clot in my right lung to being scattered throughout both lungs, and them not knowing why or if I'm developing more clots. Me personally, even though I know what the Word of God says about fear, every day I think, because of how I feel physically, how I feel internally, that, like, what if this is it? Like, I feel like sometimes like this is it. You know what I mean? Like, they say that people know. But for me, I don't want to leave any stones unturned, and I don't want there to be anyone that I have not helped like I should. And, for my followers or whatnot, there's 69 people. I don't even know who everybody is. I just want to let you guys know what's going on. I want you guys to know that when you start something, never to give up on the journey, because it's well worth it. It's well worth it, and the results that you get are going to be amazing and unimaginable. I want to say that, if you can be there for a person, be there for them genuinely, not just, for your own selfish reasons or whatever. Right now, all of this stuff that I'm going through with my health, I've been basically fighting by myself. This pandemic has taken a lot from everybody. But right now, I feel like it's taken a lot from me because my life was completely different. Before this happened, you miss people. You miss out on a lot. Some people have allowed it to get them to the point to where they're so afraid to even to be there for you. I never thought that something like this would cost me my life, my love, my health. I mean, not that I have COVID, because, thank God that I have not had it, because right now what I'm dealing with, my doctors say is more serious than COVID-19. And I'm not downplaying COVID by any means whatsoever. Period. Period, point blank. It's just, every step that I take, every move that I make, I kind of live with the thought, like my doctor says, if you're being active and you're doing what you would normally do on a daily basis, he's like, that blood clot could move and it could travel to your heart and kill you instantly. He's like, or it could, travel to your brain and cause you to have a stroke. So my life right now is my apartment, my room, my bed, my bathroom, my shower. I should have been completing cosmetology school. November 23rd was supposed to be my graduation date, but I'm here, confined to this space, to this place. And everybody's so consumed with their own lives and everything else. Nobody checks on anybody anymore. I honestly feel like it shows you this pandemic and illness and sickness and all of this. It shows you people. It shows you the true heart of man. I don't know, but I just wanted to let you guys know what's going on. I pray that everyone is blessed and that you have a happy, safe, COVID-free New Year. I am so sorry. This video is long, but I had a lot to say. Be blessed. This is Chubby Too Chic, and I pray that I can, make more videos soon, letting you guys know just what's going on from this point on.